This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Liam Ellis.
What's up guys, thanks for joining me on this morning mobility flexibility routine, this follow along routine. This is something that I do every single day. This is my personal routine that I check in with my body, use to improve my flexibility, my ranges of motion and the strength through the ranges of motion. I do this every day to make sure that every single part of my body is activated and has attention paid to it every single day. Something that I've found definitely as I've gotten older and doing extreme sports like parkour, I need to make sure that every single part of my body has been checked in with every single day. So moving through a range of motion, making sure that nothing gets stiff, I don't develop any imbalances. And this is the routine that I use to make sure that I do that for myself. This has been a game changer for me as I've gone into later years doing parkour. I'm 29 now, not super old, but definitely old enough to start feeling the aches and pains from an extreme sport like parkour. So this is what I use to make sure that I can continue doing that without injury and making sure that my body stays loose and that I can enjoy a freedom of movement in lots of different ways. This routine is going to use a combination of yoga, active and passive stretching, and PNF stretching, which is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation stretching, which essentially just means that we're going to be pushing against the stretch, holding for 3 to 5 seconds and then allowing the body to relax more. What this does is help show your body that it can move through those ranges of motion with strength, and it helps to relax it in those positions and so the body doesn't freak out. Essentially, a lot of your flexibility limitations are because your body feels like it's in a precarious position when you're in those particular positions, right? So what PNF stretching does is it holds it in an isometric position. You engage the muscle groups and your body feels safer to let go and then relax into a deeper stretching position. We're also going to be using a lot of micro movements, which essentially means tilting your body in different ways whilst you're in specific stretches. And this can help because what I've found is that people often target just like one range of motion or one movement without forgetting that the body is it's like it moves in lots of different angles on lots of different planes, just infinite number. And our kind of logical brains tend to go like, oh, forward, backward, side to side. And we tend to forget about all kinds of different twists and how each muscle relates with each other muscle. And it's almost too much for your mind to kind of take on. So what we want to do is drop into the body and try and move through different positions in the positions that we're taking. When I started doing this, I found that my mobility went through the roof. I was really struggling to get into a lot of different positions, and I found myself to be just super stiff after years of hammering parkour in the gym. And so it took a long time before I realized that it isn't just about attacking one specific position and stretch. You have to treat the body as a whole, and this routine really helps to cover that. The routine requires a couple of bits of equipment, but only at the end. The majority of the routine can just be done at home with no equipment. But then right at the end, I am going to use a set of dumbbells, probably from around 5 to 10 kilos, to help push myself into different positions, which I recommend that you try if you have that equipment. Also, a 10 to 20 kg sort of kettlebell as well will be useful. But if you don't have access to this, there's different things that we can do, and I'll show you what you can do instead. Throughout the routine, we want to put a strong focus on where our breathing is. You want to make sure that your breathing is nice, slow and deep, and making sure that we focus entirely on the body. It's well documented that the more relaxed you are, the more deep you're going to be able to get into your stretch. And you know, if you have got yourself super hyped up, if you're in kind of like a agitated space and your breath and your breathing is very short, you're going to be in like a sympathetic nervous system state. We want to get into parasympathetic nervous system, be nice and relaxed, and actually this makes a huge difference to the results from your stretching routine. As I've said, this is a morning mobility routine. You don't necessarily have to do it in the morning, but I recommend trying to do it in the morning because what I like to do is move through all my ranges of motion before I start the day, so that whatever I do within my day, you know, gets moved through that position properly. You might not think it, but day after day after day, you know, when you're squatting down to open a cupboard, or like, you know, the different positions that you sit in or pick things up, just general movement throughout the day. If you're doing that in a misaligned way, you're going to teach your body to act and move misaligned. But if you do it after you've opened your body up and you've moved through your mobility routine and you're in the best stacked position you can be in to execute on your day, that's going to make a big difference to how your overall body composition, you know, ends up. Even though it's in the morning, I recommend doing it before a cup of coffee because, as I said before, you don't want that adrenaline spikes. You want to be nice and relaxed for this. If you're finding your mind's a bit too foggy to get into your body, then fine, coffee's good, but I would recommend trying to be, you know, try and keep it minimal, make sure that you're not in kind of a jittery, uncalm state, because you will find if you do this over and over again and you do regular mobility that the difference between a tense mind and body when you're trying to stretch is, and a relaxed one is just night and day, and your results will be dependent on this. All right, that's about it. Let's crack into the routine. Clear yourself some nice space. Try and make sure that you're not going to bump into anything. Maybe grab a yoga mat or just a regular floor mat so you're not slipping all over the place and you feel like you've got enough space to move in. And yeah, let's crack into it. First thing we're going to do is get on our hands and knees for some cat-cows. You're going to make sure that you are breathing in as you arch your back, breathing out as you round your spine, pushing into the top of your feet, trying to get an even base, and making sure that your neck and eyes go to the ceiling as you arch, and to the ground as you round your back. And this is a good chance to try and align your movements with your breath, which makes a big difference. We're going to push into a downward dog now. And as you can see, I'm moving, wiggling, testing out the motion down into an upward dog now, pushing up. Again, moving side to side and making sure that we're experimenting with the position that we're in, not just holding it in one static place. Back into a downward dog, walking it out, up onto your toes, bending one leg, bending the other leg, moving those hips side to side, pushing your shoulders towards your feet. Again, just moving through this range of motion, experimenting with the position as much as possible. We're going to go into another upward dog now. We're trying to make sure that the spine is nice and warm, and this is the best sort of back and forth that I've found to begin your mobility, just to make sure everything's warm. You're going to spread your knees now and go into a child's pose, pushing your knees outwards and head towards the floor, pushing your shoulders into the ground. And as you can see, I'm going side to side here, again warming up the spine and the shoulders as I open my hips, a few little circles, and again take the time to experiment with the position, rocking backwards and forwards and opening up. And even though this is the same pose, I'm moving through these different ranges of motion. So now we're going to go up onto our hands, put our hands backwards so that we're getting a stretch through the biceps and opening up the wrists, lifting the chest forwards, doing a mini cat-cow in this position. Coming back down into an upward dog, pushing up, head to the ceiling, roll the shoulders back, loosening off the neck, pushing the hips into the ground. Then we're going to come down onto our chest, slide one hand out and roll into a twist, pushing that foot towards one side and pushing to the other side, rolling onto the other side, opening up the shoulder, opening up the chest. Now we're going to move backwards and forwards through this position quite quickly, just to get a nice little warm up through the spine and through the chest. Coming forward, pushing back into that upward dog, rounding off. Keeping that breath nice and slow and trying to stay super relaxed throughout this whole mobility routine. Pushing back up into a downward dog now, walking through. Again, straightening one leg, opening the other leg. And then we're gonna lift one leg into the air, pushing your shoulders towards the floor, extending that leg, curling the spine, coming into a front support with a bent knee, pushing back up, curling through the spine again, this time front support, knee to the elbow on the outside, pushing back up, And this time, bring your leg through between your hands. We're gonna reach up as high as we can, opening up that front hip, opening up your chest, squeezing your glutes and squeezing your back, pulling your elbows down almost like you're doing a lat pull down, then coming back up into warrior two, where we've got our feet perpendicular, arms outstretched, bending that front leg, relaxing your hips as much as possible, trying to get them to open, pushing through that midsection. Now we're going to lift up, pull back, extend that front leg, open up the lat, cartwheel down and twist, lifting up your arm the other side. And down, back into that upward dog. We're going to keep coming back to this position because it's a good way to just neutralize. And down into that child's pose, split the knees, side to side with the shoulders again. Head down, head up. Moving through the range of motion a little bit, pull yourself forwards, back up into that upward dog, and back into that downward dog. Again, walking through the heels. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So we're gonna lift up our other leg nice and high into the air, pushing through the shoulders, and then we're gonna come forward around the spine, holding that front support, engaging that core, reaching up back, and again, bring that knee forwards, touching the elbow, engaging that core and the hip. Coming up, bringing your knee between your legs again, engaging those glutes, and swinging the arms up, nice big stretch through the front hip, keeping everything engaged, don't let that back knee drop, lat pull down, push your chest to the ceiling, and then come up into your warrior two. Making sure that midline is straight, your heels are in line. And you want to make sure that you're engaging your legs and opening your hips. Then we're going to reach up, reach back as far as you can, opening up that side hip and that lat, cartwheel down, and twist the spine through the opposite angle. Hands are going to come down, back into that upward dog. Nice deep breath, making sure that the breath is nice and slow. We're moving fairly quickly because we want to stay warm and make sure that the blood is flowing nicely down into that child's pose now. Again, shoulders moving, nice deep breaths, relaxing as much of your musculature as you can. Really making that effort to connect with your breath and relax. And pay attention to where every single bone and muscle in your body is lying. Back into that downward dog, lift your foot up. We're gonna come to the middle again, and this time we're gonna go into that runner's pose. Now we're gonna go backwards and forwards here. So push your hips forwards and extend that front leg. Push the hips forwards, extend that front leg. This should really loosen off that back of the knee, the hamstring, the calf. And I found the best way to do this is through a little bit of a dynamic back and forth. I get a lot looser than when I hold this straight for some reason. Then we're going to swap feet, same again, other side. Again, connecting to the body, looking to the ceiling on the way up, down to the floor on the way down, opening up that front hip and that back leg. Brilliant, feet together. Extend the legs, getting a nice forward fold. And then we're going to jump back, grounding in that upward dog again. As always, experiment with the position, loosen off any muscles, move into any tight areas and try and breathe and relax into them. So now we're going to turn sideways on our mat and go into this posture right here. Knees apart as far as we can. Trying to open up those hips. Now this is one I like to do a little slower to try and open up your hips, and you want to experiment with moving your shoulders side to side. Again, you'll feel this really move the hip into a different position rather than holding it in one place and trying to get a stretch that way. Try and move into the stretch each time that you move side to side. Now we're going to put our hands backwards, get a nice stretch in the wrists, as well as open up our chest and move our hips into a slightly different position. We're going to take the opportunity to stretch our wrists, put that hand on top, put some pressure through the top of your hand, extend your elbow. Coming down onto the elbows, putting the hips into another different position. Even though it looks like the same posture, we're moving through a different position. And again, you can see I'm pushing side to side, lifting myself up, just looking for the nooks and crannies of where my body feels the least flexible. Extend your feet out. We're going to pop up into a straddle, staying on the elbows. Try and get those legs as straight as humanly possible. Rocking backwards and forwards, rocking side to side, and then coming up onto the hands. So now we're going to do some P&F, and we're going to push our feet into the floor as hard as we possibly can, squeezing everything together, squeezing the feet together, and then relax and push a little bit deeper. Lifting up your feet, getting a little movement in the ankles, and you'll see how this affects where how your stretch feels. And we're going to push into the floor again. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Letting yourself go a little bit deeper, coming up onto the heels, again experimenting with being up on your heels, pushing into different positions. See how I'm getting slightly lower and lower just by opening up these different micro positions I was talking about earlier. Then we're going to sit ourselves down into a straddle position. Try not to move your heels. Your split will also be the same as your straddle position. Grab your knees, push yourself side to side using your legs and opening up these different positions. Again, like this movement of the spine and just these different positions within the one posture really helps to deepen where you're trying to go. Try and get your chest towards the floor and getting a little deeper each and every time. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. I'm opening up more and more as I move side to side. So now we're going to reach our arm over the top, trying to reach into that toe. And as you can see, I'm going backwards and forwards until my body will let me reach right over to the toe. I'm going to come over to the other side, stiff to start with, and then I open up a little more, reach to that toe. And bring it back to the middle. We're going to go to the other side again, and back to the other side, creating a little motion through this plane. So now bringing your arms right up to the top, being very careful with this one. You're going to use the weight of your hands to let you forward fold, trying to keep your shoulders as extended as possible, covering those ears, keeping the arms straight. Don't overdo it on this one. Make sure the legs are flexed and keeping your body from falling down straight away, trying to keep the spine as straight as possible. When you come down, we're going to walk over to the left side, get towards that left foot, letting the hip open off on the right side. And then we're going to move over to the other side. Again, this is a lot about letting the opposite side hip let go, as well as stretching into the hamstring on the bent side. And then slowly bringing your feet back into the middle. Your legs will probably be a little bit just weary after that. Then we're going to come into a 90-90 stretch, pushing our hip up and down. So you're going to be in a 90-90, putting your bum to the floor and then lifting it up, twisting through that hip, down to the floor, lifting it up, twisting through the hip, down to the floor, and then we're going to lift right up and push through, come back down, lift right up, push through, come back down, lift right up, push through, come back down. Lots of awareness on the hips here. Try and be as slow as you need to be. Coming over to the other side. Same again, little motion to start with. Bum down, open the hip, bum down, open the hip, bum down, open the hip. And then we're going to go and lift all the way up, push through that front hip, bring the bum back down, push through that front hip, opening up through the chest as well, making sure that that chest pulls right back and opening that front hip from this position. Now we're going to go over to the other side, lift and push, squeeze through the middle, other side, lift and push. Trying to squeeze these knees as far out as possible as you go through, supporting yourself with your hands behind you. My hips are clearly very stiff, and this is something I need to work on, and I gear a lot of my mobility towards that because I've had very, very stiff hips over the years, but they're opening up finally after learning some new techniques and implementing them over the last 6 months or so. And this is one of the major movements that's really helped. All right, coming back into that downward dog, walking it out. And we're gonna roll onto our back and lift our toes and our feet over our head. So we're gonna come onto our back and we're gonna try and keep our legs straight. We're gonna try and touch the floor of our toes. And then we're gonna do almost like a swimming-like motion just to loosen off that QL, get the lower spine moving through a little bit of a rotation as we stretch the lower back, the hamstrings. Try and grab your feet if you can. I was nowhere near this when I started. It didn't take too long before my feet would just drop down onto my hands. Again, experimenting with moving through the different positions while you're in the position. Now we're gonna push up into a bridge, tuck the hands underneath. I usually have to come down onto my head and open up through a few bridge press ups to allow myself to eventually open all the way up and get my arms straight. My bridge clearly needs a lot of work still. It's one of the more complex movements, but more and more as I open my shoulders and try and push through those feet and do this every day my shoulders open up a little bit more. Coming back into that rolled over position, more relaxed this time, legs straight, legs bent, try and relax, grab your toes. This is a position, just loosen off and relax your spine, coming into a little happy baby where we're just trying to relax. It takes a lot of neuromuscular recruitment to do a bridge when you're stretching it, at least for me, that's how it feels. So just a little time to relax your whole body and get it out of tension again is the best bet after you've pushed yourself in a bridge. It can often feel quite an extreme movement. So slow that breathing down, take this as an opportunity to just relax your breathing again. And then we're gonna push up into a bridge once more. So hands underneath, pushing up, pushing into the shoulders. So you're pushing through your feet and trying to get yourself towards your shoulders so that your arms can get straight and you can open yourself up through that thoracic extension. And one last time, we're gonna roll over. Now this is as much of a bridge as I can handle without it feeling like overwhelming. So if you can do more, maybe do more. If not, then stick with this. Again, coming into that happy baby variation, just relaxing, hold your feet. Okay, coming onto your back, and we're gonna do a variation on the 90-90, where we're going side to side, just letting one knee drop and then the other knee drop. Bringing it over each side. And then what we're gonna do is, as your knees come up, you're gonna flex, pushing them outwards, squeezing those outer glutes, and then let the knee come over. So you squeeze outer glutes in the middle, then let the knee come over, opening up through those hips. All right, coming back up, going down into a classic upward dog, checking in, making sure everything's aligned, slowing down your breathing again, making sure that you're still nice and relaxed, pushing up into that downward dog, walking through, lifting your foot up, pushing your shoulders down to the floor, coming into a slight twist, let that foot drop over to the side, and you're gonna bring it forwards into a pigeon. Make sure to not put any pressure on the knee. You wanna put your tension, no tension through the knee, but you lean onto your knee so that the knee is pushing into your hips, right? So we don't want tension on the knee. If you're getting too much tension on the knee, then you need to have a steeper angle with your bend. We're gonna push ourselves up and down and try and squeeze and activate the glute. If you can, get your hands behind you. I've only just unlocked this myself. You wanna be trying to go down and up using only the muscles in your glutes pushing through the floor. Again, no tension in the knee, just pushing through the knee from floor to upwards. You can start by just letting your hands come off the floor slightly rather than having the hands behind you. Tucking one hand underneath and getting a little twist in the spine. Bringing it back, lifting your foot up, pushing back into that downward dog. Now we're gonna do the same on the other side. Loosening off, side to side, lift up, come through. Again, watching out, making sure there's no tension on the knee, just pressure from knee pushing you down, pushing you upwards. Relax into it, make sure that you've got a good position, and then we can move through the spine up and down. This has been a massive help to help me increase my pigeon and obviously make sure that I've got more flexibility in my glutes and my lower back. You want to try and roll your spine down as you come down and then roll it back up. And again, if you can try and put your hands behind, interlace the fingers, open up through the chest, and do a few reps up and down, pushing through the glutes, trying to get control through this range of motion. All right. And we're going for that twist again. Lift, push the arm underneath, the opposite. Get a bit of a spinal twist and bring yourself back up. Walking out that downward dog. And we're just going to come into a nice relaxed child's pose now, knees apart. Again, moving backwards and forwards. Try and experiment with tilting your pelvis in different positions. Again, side to side with the shoulders, but as you can see, I'm trying to tilt my pelvis down and back. And this will really help to open up the hips. A lot of people try and open their hips just from one position. You have to experiment with different tilts in your pelvis, and you'll sort of feel like it's kind of like dusting the cobwebs off. Like as you tilt your pelvis backwards and forwards, you can kind of feel yourself moving through different positions that you might not have tried in a while, because you'll find yourself only in one position sometimes doing one stretch. So we're going to come back to our split, this time just under where we can get to, and do a medium, sort of a stretched out cross axe squat. So just bending that knee side to side, opening up, getting a little stretch on either side, and then we're going to turn it into a front split. Take your time getting into position here. As you can see, I'm moving, experimenting with where my body's tight, trying to push a little bit into different positions. You see, I barely ever stay still, and that's just to help me move through. Even though I'm doing the same stretch, all these micro movements help me open up different parts of the body. Going over onto the other side. And again, what I'm trying to do is, a big part of this one is actually the part where you go from the front through the middle and back to the other side. We're getting this twist where the legs are twisting through the hips range of motion. And you'll feel, whilst you might be used to a stretch, how you move between stretches is a big part of how the mobility works. And how you move between stretches is going to help you gain more movement patterns. All right, so that's everything with no equipment. Now we're going to grab the kettlebell if you've got one. If you haven't got one, I'm going to show you what to do in a minute. You're going to lift it up, bring it to your chest, and it's going to help you go down into this squat. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to spread my toes as much as possible, push my knees out, toes are facing forwards, keeping my chest up, and I'm letting the kettlebell drop me further and further into the position. As you can see, I'm going up and then coming down. I'm getting my elbows on the inside, pushing the knees out, allowing the kettlebell to drop me into the position. As I come up, relax, put tension on the glutes, and then relax as I come down. This is helping me get into a deeper and deeper position. Loosen everything off by standing up and then bring it back down. As you can see, my squat is getting deeper and deeper just from this one little exercise, even in this one position. So if you don't have a kettlebell, and I'd recommend you do this after you've used your kettlebell anyway, you're going to come down into a squat, use your arms to get your center of gravity forwards. It's generally the ankle flexibility that's the problem when it comes to this squat. So putting the center of gravity further out forwards is a good bet. Pushing the knees out by putting your hands together, bouncing. See how I'm constantly moving and bouncing, and it's helping me get deeper and deeper. I'm just letting different muscles and different fascia just relax in the different positions by moving through them rather than just trying to hold one tight position. You grab your kettlebell, bring it back over. This time you're going to put your kettlebell onto your knee, and we're going to be flexing those ankles. So you're going to put the kettlebell right forwards, bring your knee over your toe, and again we're going to push through our toes into towards the knee. Hold for 5 seconds, and then relax, and it's going to let our knee drop a little bit lower towards the ground. The weight of the kettlebell will obviously assist this massively. You can do it just by pushing your chest on your knee, but I recommend getting a kettlebell. It just makes a world of difference. A lot of the time your body is just in a place where, at least for my body, it was in a place where I had to apply weight to force a stretch, to force that mobility, because I just couldn't get into a position that was gonna allow it to increase its flexibility or its range of motion without the weight. The difference here now is night and day. So again, putting that kettlebell over the knee, pushing your toes towards your knee for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then relax, letting that range of motion become slightly deeper. And you want to do this about 3 times. I tend to do it about 3 times. I tend to not get anything out of it after the 3rd time. So 3 rounds of 5-second pushes, and then relax. All right, and then the final thing we're going to do is grab a couple of dumbbells, push ourselves up against a wall or a sofa, get your feet together, make sure that pull your heels as close to your bum as you can, grab your dumbbells and push them up onto your knees. Let your hips slowly relax as the weight carries them down as far as they possibly can. And then once you're at as far as you've managed to go, you're going to do the P and F again. So you're going to push your knees against the weights whilst you push your weights down onto the knees. So here we go, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Deep breath. Remember, relaxing breaths really make a difference to how open your body will let itself be. And then we're going to go again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Again, nice deep breath. Try and let those knees drop as much as possible. And one more time, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Really let those knees drop right down. Then we're going to use our knees. I'm using only my knee strength here to push the dumbbells up and allow myself to gain strength through that range of motion and just teaching my body that it's safe all the way through. So lifting up about 5 reps will do it until you don't feel stiff through the range of motion with the weights anymore. So the only way that I've found to do this has been a night and day again difference with the weights. What you can do is push yourself down with one arm, as you see here. The only problem is that you only get to do one leg at a time. It does help, but it's not anywhere near as helpful as using the dumbbells. So I really do recommend using the dumbbells, getting them if you can. All right guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helps you on your mobility, flexibility, movement journey. And let me know in the comments how this helped, and hopefully see you soon. Take it easy.
Hey there guys, it's the Pioneer. Massive thanks to Liam for doing a fantastic job on the video again. I'm just here to tell you a little bit about today's sponsor, Squarespace. So Squarespace is a website building platform. That's a tool that anyone can use in order to build stunning websites in a really short amount of time and with no technical skill necessary. Squarespace makes this extremely easy by allowing you to drag and drop elements around the page to design your site just how you like it. You can work from a ready-made template, customize it to your liking, and from there you can add all the features you might possibly need in order to grow your website along with your business. Squarespace is used by some of the biggest brands on the web, so it's more than capable of handling your every need. It has everything from advanced formatting tools, a fully integrated commenting system with threaded comments, replies and likes, member management. You can earn money through members-only gated content or appointment scheduling if you sell a service, so people can book you online. Of course, it has e-commerce, and to help you get more visitors to your site, you have built-in analytics and advanced SEO tools, so you can ensure that people are able to find your website in Google. Squarespace makes it so simple for anyone to build a website, and I really think this is something that everyone should do. If you want to find out more, then head over to squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/thebioneer, and you get 10% off your first website or domain. Thanks again for watching, guys. Thanks again to Liam for making the video, and bye for now.